Welcome, everybody. We have Shauna Michelle Poe here from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and we have some very, very special guests tonight. I just been sitting here in complete gratitude with speaking to them today and just hearing more of their stories and their backgrounds in regards to animal health and activation. It's just blowing me away. And Andrea just sending me more pictures of what's been happening with these incredible animals prior to activation and then with activation. We have such a mission here. We have such a purpose to go and make a difference in this world in every aspect, with humans, with animals, in every way that we can. And we just thank you all for showing up here tonight to listen to these two gorgeous souls. And we will have some additional ones at the very end and hear how activation is so necessary and important to our animals, to anybody that's any mammal, right? You guys, that's living and breathing and walking this planet. Any mammal needs this information. So I'm going to hop right to it. We've got Miss Debbie Crawl here, you guys. And just, I want you to listen to this. Debbie helped pioneer the equine physical therapy industry over 40 years ago. Okay, pioneer. So think about that as you think of activation as well tonight. She was fortunate to work with Hall of Fame trainers in racing, Grand Prix, and 3-day eventing. I believe too, Debbie, you'll have to share. I mean, you worked with the Kentucky Derby. I mean, you worked with all the best of the best. So this is somebody that you really need to listen to tonight. She said, it's so humbling. I love your heart. It's so humbling to have worked with champion equine athletes on both the U.S. and Canadian Olympic teams. Wow. And while traveling the East Coast most of the year, she also owned and operated a custom saddle shop in Florida. And she is just so grateful to have learned about this information from a complete stranger. So for those of you that are coming in tonight, we just want to say thank you. We want to say thank you for coming in tonight and just thank the person that invited you here, because they care about you. They care about your animals, your pets, all of it. And I just, animals and pets, horses, dogs, cats, all of them, they are just a special, special place in our heart, aren't they? We have 2 dogs in our home. We had a Sphinx cat for many years that passed away this past year. And there's the whole saying of man's best friend. And that goes for all animals. They just love purely and unconditionally. And our hearts are just for them. And then the connection that we have with them is just something out of this world that I think we would all agree, right? So as you are listening tonight, we would love to answer questions. We would love to just blow your socks off with their hearts and their information. So as you see, if you are on Zoom right now, definitely use the chat, ask any questions, put any stories in that you have. We'll try to address those. And if you are, live on Facebook, same thing goes there. We are just here for you and just to really share with you, again, the power of activation. So Debbie, welcome, sister. We are so happy that you are here, and we are honored and grateful because we are protective of your energy and your time, and just, wow, what a gift for us to have you here. So thank you so much.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. You and Sean both. Y'all do so much for everyone, crossline, across the country, the world. It doesn't matter. You guys just step up all the time, and I appreciate what you put out there for all of us to follow, your grand leaders, and what a honor to be here in front of your powerful team. So thank you so much. You guys are absolutely on fire, and it is so fun to watch.
Well, thank you. And like I said, this is a mission, right? We are one world, and we are just one family here. And if we can now just get the information out to people and really build that belief of what we have, that's the mission and the purpose. And what I love is that you are a pioneer, and we are pioneering activation here within our company. And I would just love to hear, Debbie, if you would, what caught your attention? Because I know you were like me in the beginning, right? Skeptical. Why haven't I heard of this before? And you've known about this now for what, about 10 years?
10 years, yes.
10 years. So can you just tell us about what caught your attention and kind of the journey of that coming from the background that you've got?
Right, I was a massive skeptic. I did my homework on just about everything. Being a pioneer, that's what I did. Was I brought a lot of the equipment that we use today, lasers and ultrasounds, things that were human products that we bled over into the equine world. So I was forever trying to look for what was the next greatest thing to be able to bring in. And I was absolutely floored that I didn't know about this. I knew what oxidative stress was. I knew that we all have it. All the people have it. All the horses have it. All the dogs have it. But I also thought that there was nothing you could do for it, because it was just recently a time where there was something we can do for it. So I didn't believe it. I had a most perfect introduction to this. It's like I say, we try and keep this simple. A lot of people don't know this story, but I loved my job. I loved the horses. And then I got to where I didn't love the industry. It was changing a lot. There was a time when you made massive change and differences in our animals, and the money was too big, and I was seeing things get hurt that didn't need to get hurt. But I didn't know where I could go. I mean, I'd been doing this for 35, 40 years at that time. And that's all I knew. I knew a lot about horses, but that was about it. And I realized that I was going to have to get out and change and do something different. And that was real scary. But as it was, that morning, I had gone around to 3 Hall of Fame barns that I wasn't too happy with, and told them I just didn't have time to work there anymore, which was kind of true. I already worked 100 hours a week, every week. It was a 7-day-a-week job for years and years. Probably the first 25 years, it was fun. But after that, it got old. So I didn't know where I was going. And I just got rid of an awful lot of cash flow that comes into me. And I pulled up to the racetrack in Saratoga, New York. And I went up there for a reason. It was one of my favorite parts of the property. And I went up there and set an intention for something of the highest good to come into my life. So I pulled up to the rail. And there was a man and a woman and a little girl in front of my truck. Turned the truck off. I saw them see my door sign, Therapeutic Equine Services. They do it all the time. Somebody wants to come over there and show me something. It never has any science to it, so I don't do anything about it. I saw the elbow bump, and so Justin Brown sent his wife over to show me something. Well, of course, it's the blue bottle. So almost every week I do this. I look at the product. I go to PubMed. Exactly. There's nothing there. I tell them I'm not interested. And it was just a perfect presentation. Show me the bottle. And they sat down and showed me the ABC Primetime, and without saying a whole lot. Now, they'd only been in the business for a few weeks. I think it's maybe a month or two. And I looked at that ABC, and being the skeptic, I just was really rude. And I looked at him and I said, so how much money did it cost for them to do that? I didn't even believe the ABC was real. Somebody had to get paid bucks for that. And so I went home, did my homework, canceled my appointments for that afternoon and all evening, and I lived on PubMed and everything else to try and disprove that this just can't be true. I didn't know about it. So it's all about timing. Sometimes things are new. And so when I got introduced and saw this was real, first customer was my old horse. He was 21 at the time, been struggling with some real serious problems. And as a therapist, I'd thrown every book at him that I knew in 7 years. And I was down to probably the spring, I was going to have to put him down. It was just a condition that's not good for Florida. And sent a bottle down to the caretaker here. And within a month, I realized he was going to be here for a while. And so I had the next 9 years with him, and just lost him last year at 30 years old. So that was my first customer. That was my first, I can't believe this is real deal. And maybe it was only for him. So then I had to get a bunch of horses on it. And PubMed is really what brought me in, because I had to have the science. It was not about, yes, their hair coat looks better. Yes, there's a lot of things that can be better, but I had to know the science was real. Something was backing this up, why it happened, what were the side effects, before I could go to my clientele, which were some pretty big clientele, and tell them it was something they needed to know about. So I was very excited when I saw the science was there. And that's where I start almost everybody with, is going to PubMed. We all know, go PubMed, oxidative stress, and whatever health concern. But you can go to equine oxidative stress, and they are studies just for horses. There's over 500 studies now. And when we started 10 years ago, there was only 27. So it's massive that you can take somebody there to a medical website, and they can see that this is real, and who the scientist was, and how long was the study for those people that have to have what I had. And then after that, I don't have to look at studies anymore. It's all about, we have the belief, but that's a great place to build belief, is by seeing it in print. And some of us just have to see it that way.
Yes. So question, because I know when I was first introduced, and I thought, I was going through my own health journey when I first got started, and I thought I knew so much because I was researching about my own health and what could I do for it. And I, believe it or not, did not know what oxidative stress was at that point. And I also didn't know what PubMed was. So for those that are listening, just simply, and I love, because I'm looking at some different faces that I know. We've got Dr. Amy Love right here. When you were talking about PubMed and research, she's nodding her head in agreement and whatnot. And I see Andrea up there, the research, the validation, the stories and whatnot. But can you just simplify it real quick, Debbie? What is oxidative stress and what is PubMed and why is that such a big deal? And why did you not look? Right? Because if you go to PubMed and you type in this activator, you are going to see the research on the branded product, right? Not just one of the ingredients. And so that's a huge deal. But can you just simply just explain what that is? And then for horses, why is that such a big deal?
Okay. Well, the oxidative stress, in the simplest way to put it, is cellular damage. We all have it. It's actually the difference of what your body can clean up and damage and what the overload is. The overload is really called oxidative stress. So our bodies can take care of ourselves when we're younger. The older we are, the less care we get, it seems like, as far as enzymes and antioxidants. And then all of a sudden, the oxidative stress starts overloading your body, and that's when it starts creating problems. Whether it's for people, that's when our disease process happens. It's the same thing for our horses. The older they get, the more damage they have, the more problems they're going to have. Well, I've always been around professional horses, and it's really fun when you can be around just some fun horses, because they get to get out of their stall, they get to put their head down, eat grass, be in the sunshine, roll around. Mine had to have acupuncture and chiropractic and all these things because, they were a professional horse. They didn't get out and move around like they could, like they're supposed to. So when we take an animal that is used to be running around 80% of the time, and we put them in stalls and we give them a certain kind of feed so they can have a certain amount of energy, that changes everything about them. They have way more stress. They're herd animals that love to be around other animals, and we have walls of petitions because we're trying to make them safe and make sure they're not hurt, or they're, just that's where their mind is, and we have to be careful with them. And it's just tough working on professional horses because they have more of the oxidative stress. It's just like a professional athlete. They go out there, play football, get bumped into each other. They have more injuries. They have more inflammation. Same way with horses. They go out there and do a job for us. I call it people games. It wasn't their idea to run around in a circle as fast as they can or jump over the highest pile of sticks that they can. They're going to have more problems. And I believe that this is one of the best things that we can do to help them with the problems that occur from the jobs that we ask them to do. And what was the other thing you asked about?
Amazing, thank you. Just what, to PubMed,
PubMed.
How big of a deal really is that? Because I had never heard of it. And now that I know, I'm just like, that's the place that you always go for your research. But I didn't know what that was. For those that are new to that, can you just explain why that's such an important place to go?
Sure. That was massive for me, that there was information there. I feel like our job is just to get information into people's hands, get it into their mind, and then it's whatever they do with it. But we've got to get them to a place where they can believe this is real. And like I said, I don't believe a lot of what I hear. I did know what PubMed was, and that's a place that's very difficult to get a study put on because it has to be validated and go through a lot of processes and a lot of human beings and a lot of studies before they put their stamp of approval on it and allow it to be in PubMed.gov, because it is the National Institute of Health. People around the world go there to find out what's really real. There is a second site that I wasn't familiar with until about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and Dr. Lee Seward turned me onto it, and that's scholar.google. And those are the only two research engines out there. Those are the only two places to go find what's real. And that is scholar.google. It's not Google. What you want to see when you go to one of these sites is, who was the study done by? What were the name of the scientists? Who were the doctors? How long did the study last? When were those years? How long did it take them to get it published? How long did the study how many years did it take start to finish, which many times is between 7 and 10 years. So when I started looking at this 10 years ago, there was a couple hundred studies done. There was 180 something studies on horses, and now we've got over 500. Well, guess what? We've gone through 10 years of all of this time to have these studies prepared, and then it takes a year or two to get them published. And then to say that we've got that many on a site like the National Institute of Health, that is massive. That speaks. You can talk to the doctors when you say you've got peer-reviewed studies.
Amen. Amen. And I know for you and your name, especially working with, the elite of the elite when it comes to horses, your name matters, Debbie. And what you recommend is it's the best of the best. And I know that obviously that matters. So would you say this breakthrough is just a wow factor? And what have you seen over the years? Because it's been 10 years now, and you had mentioned your first customer you didn't know was going to be around that much longer, and you were able to keep that sweetheart around for another 9 years or so. What other things have you seen with horses, with your horses, with your customers' horses, all over the place? And I would just want to add too, because I've got my husband in my brain right now, and this will go with Andrea too. Sean would always be like, horses, dogs, cats, goats, cows, they don't know what you're giving them. They're grateful for whatever you're giving them, but they don't know what you're giving them. It is not a placebo effect. So when you suddenly are seeing some improvements and differences, it's not in their head. It's literally happening. And like Debbie said, it's going down to that cellular level. So give us some stories, and then we'll move on.
Unfortunately, we can't talk about a lot of diseases, but there's so many things that you guys are going to, realize. It's like when you take a young horse, whether it's a yearling or a weanling, most of them have been on a farm most of their life. We're only talking about 3 to 5, 8 months old, and they end up going to a horse sale. That's pretty frightening. Put them on a trailer, go somewhere for 15 hours, pull them out, and there's like 500 babies, all of them screaming at the same time. Everybody's unhappy. Nobody knows where mama is. They don't know where their friends are, and they're screaming. And so we had one of my distributors, y'all probably know Bonnie Kim Heath. They have young horses they take to sales, and they started experimenting with the NRF2, and what a magic pill that is with anxiety and other problems that come along with those situations, going there and you're being it. And that's been remarkable as far as their minds, also their physical fitness. I mean, when you're that old, you're not very old, and now you just got off a trailer ride 15 hours, and now you've got to go stand up on a tarmac for the next 3 days. Your feet hurt, your knees hurt, their ankles hurt, the inflammation. They've got tight muscles around the hips and shoulders where they've been turning, sometimes up to 70, 80, 90 times a day. And we have seen remarkable things with these horses being able to come back from the sales and have a better attitude, but not be sore, not be tired. They prick those ears up, come up to the front of the stall when in the past they would have had their head down in the far corner, not wanting to see a human again. So that was massive to see that happen. I also put a bunch of 2-year-olds at the racetrack. Again, they go away from their farm, they go away from their buddies, and they are all now in a barn with somebody else. They just now happen to be 1,200 pounds instead of 400 pounds. So they're a little more handle sometimes. And we saw the same kind of calming effect where they didn't go out of their mind for quite as long. They still kind of wanted to know where they were at, but it wasn't the same level of anxiety. And we started these horses on it somewhere between a month and 2 months before we took them out of the environment. But we have seen massive changes in weeks. So it's a wonderful thing to put your animals on. We know that, when you look at a horse or a dog or anything, their hair coat is telling you what's going on inside of them. Yes. And, a lot of times when these animals are moved from one place to the other, first thing is they've got a dull coat, shine's gone. Everything inside is not happy, and we don't see that happening with this. We see their haircut stay on there. We don't see all these fungus things jump up on them. It is just massive how this can work at a cellular level and in their mind. The older horses, most all older horses have got old people problems, like arthritis and inflammation and all these things that we do to ourselves as we get old. And we're seeing that, with these horses too. As they get older, they're having a better lifestyle. because we're able to take care of some of those things that is causing those pains.
Yes. Oh, so many stories. I know you just want to I always say, you just want to download your brain into everybody. And if everybody could just have that download into their brain into everybody, all of our horses, all of our pets on the world, right? Wouldn't you agree, Debbie, would be active? Period.
Yeah, but you know what's so fantastic is almost everybody I know, everybody's got a horse that's got 2 dogs. So it's, you know, everybody needs to know about this.
Yes, yes. Well, speaking of dogs, and I'll come back right before the end. Speaking of dogs, if we may transition real quick, because I tell you what a gift. And I tell you, right before we were getting on this call, Andrea was sending me some more pictures of before activation and after. And my heart was just racing, and I was just, you know, sending messages. I just said, you know, again, the world needs to know about this. Okay, where did Debbie go? Is she still there? Oh, there. No. Okay. Sorry, Andrea. There's Andrea. Okay, the screen, the Zoom screen, you know how sometimes there you are. So we're going to switch over real quick here to Ms. Andrea Davis. And wow, what she has done, I'm going to just speak to it real quick. She's an herbalist with Sharpay Health Group with almost 10,000 members. And for the past 9 years, she's been helping that breed with its specific inflammatory issues, and many more years, or actually, correct me if I'm wrong, many more years than that. She's married and has 4 beautiful Sharpays. And she did say more than likely 1 or 2 of them will be sticking their Zoom or their faces into the Zoom tonight, which I saw, which was so cute because they are our babies, right? We always say we just love to have our kids around us. So Andrea, thank you so much. And I'm excited for you and Debbie. I've just been like, oh my gosh, you guys are going to just love each other because this is just your world. So can you just share with us your story a little bit, you know, getting introduced to this and what caught your attention and your group and the people that you have been helping for so many years. It's thousands and thousands of people. And again, your name is everything and, you know, the validation and whatnot. But I know you've got stories and stories. So I would love to hear what caught your attention and your heart to all of this. Pretty please.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. Well, I was actually in pretty bad shape myself when I was introduced to the product. I was bedridden and in excruciating pain. My friend said, try it. And I started seeing results in 6 days. And I thought, you know, if this is going to do this for me, and I started reading and I found an article about dogs, and my breed is born with inflammation. They have chronic inflammation in their bodies. That's what makes the wrinkles. So people don't understand that they're buying a sick breed when they buy these dogs. They really, you have to find something to control that. A lot of them, they do have testing to help eliminate that, but that's fairly recent in just the past few years that came out. Before it was the more heavily wrinkled, the better, but those were the sicker dogs. We've had dogs with fevers, horrible allergies, terrible skin, ears that, they were just pathetic. My research into it started when I had a dog with the Sharpay autoinflammatory disease. And I started looking for herbs, vitamins, anything that I could possibly use to help this poor dog. She would get these high fevers and be in so much pain. It was just excruciating to watch. And so I started hanging out on the forums and the Sharpay health groups and learning. And when I found out about this product and saw what it did for me, I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to test it on my dogs after I read about it. And yes, I researched PubMed inside out and upside down. I keep getting lost in that rabbit hole. And I tested it on my dogs first, because always, you know, in my group, my word is everybody is always asking for my advice. So I want to make sure that it's correct and it's not going to harm any dogs. And I wouldn't give anything to my dogs that I believe could possibly harm them. She's almost 9 years old now. I've been on the product for almost 3 years, but I have one that has vaccine damage. She grumpy, very high anxiety. So I put her on it. And my husband's like, what did you do to that dog? She's acting like she's 6 months old. She was bouncing all over the house and running all over the place instead of walking around stiff-legged and ornery. Instigating play. She comes up and hits her puppy in the head. You saw her puppy earlier. She hits her in the head with toys, like, come on, let's play. She's a totally different dog. I fully expect for her to be around for many, many more years. When I first started in the breed, their lifespan was about 8 years, 8 to 10. And now we're seeing dogs living a little bit longer, but I'm pushing for 20 years. I'm really hoping. With these products, anything's possible.
Yes.
But yeah, the pictures that I shared with you, that one that was laying there that was very inflamed, is the first dog outside of my dogs that I introduced to it. Because I tested mine for almost a year before I even introduced it to anybody else. And I was very slow in sharing because I wanted to be sure there were no lasting side effects or anything like that. And it's been nothing but positive. Everything has been positive. That dog had extreme inflammation in his body. He was so swollen. He was so itchy. He turned around in just a matter of weeks. It was just amazing. His coat looked beautiful. I get people every single day asking for help with major skin issues, mange. A lot of times we see a lot of Shar-Pei with mange. Just any kind of issues with any kind of allergies. I've got one right now that's asked me before I came on, but it's allergic to human skin. So it's like, oh my God, this will be a test.
Yeah.
But yeah, the inflammation, I mean, we're seeing fewer fevers. We're seeing beautiful coats, beautiful skin, dogs that are happy and playful, dogs that were in a lot of pain, chronic pain, are now healthy and happy, and one walking miles again. One of my girlfriends had a wire hair terrier, German wire hair pointer, and she had a mass on a mammary tumor. And she was like 14, 15 years old. And she's like, I really don't want to put her under for surgery. My vet doesn't want to. I said, try it. It can't hurt. And the tumor went away. It just completely disappeared. And so she started trying the product. And this is how I'm getting my human customers, is that they're trying the product on their dogs and seeing such amazing results that they feel they have to try it. She's lost 110 pounds and gotten rid of all of her pain and is walking almost 5 miles a day every day.
Oh.
And she's a true inspiration to me and everyone else around us. But I don't know, does anybody have any questions? I mean, these are the best products I've ever seen for this breed, or for any dogs in general, or any mammals.
Yes, yes, and that's the power, like Debbie was saying, and you had mentioned, or Debbie had mentioned Dr. Lee Seward, who is a very dear friend of ours as well. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he's one of the creators of HeartGuard and so many other great things. And he was also introduced to this, by a friend of ours who was on an airplane with them and just shared and just, skeptically looked, but then sees and just saying, there's nothing out there like this. They all absolutely need this when you activate, that body. And from what I've learned over the years through him and talking to different doctors, about this, is dogs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Debbie, and horses as well, are age 7 times faster than we humans. And so they age 7 times greater, and then they pass away sooner, and it goes down to that oxidative stress. And so when the company, I remember when we first joined, we didn't have a dog product at that time, but we just had the original NRF2 that was on the ABC Primetime Investigative Report. Well, we live in South Dakota, where there's a lot of hunting dogs. So suddenly when hunting dogs aren't able to jump up into the truck and go get ready for hunting, they know something is not so great. And that's just a bummer, right? Well, suddenly people started giving, this product to their dogs. And you cannot, like I said earlier, like my husband says, there's no placebo effect. That dog can suddenly jump back up into the truck and go get those birds and do all those things and go run around. And I'm looking at Dog Krishna Swami here. I know their dog just running out into the fields and doing all the things that maybe they weren't doing before. Then the company did do a double-blind placebo-controlled study on dogs, and before that was even done, they knew which dogs were on our product and which ones weren't, right? And I know you can agree that that's just what you're seeing. So yes, if anybody has questions, it's just really, the stories are stories upon stories, and for those of you that are guests, ask for questions, tell me some more stories. And if you look, through the different customer pages, you're going to see stories. If you look on YouTube, you're going to see stories, and it's powerful. And it's almost like, how can this happen? How can there be a horse that's hobbling around, right, that isn't doing so well, then suddenly gets activated, and within, we're all different, but within a short amount of time usually, they're out doing their thing. It's just mind-blowing. And how does it work? It's getting back down to that root, like Debbie had spoken about, oxidative stress and activation, and what you were saying too, that you Andrea, have done your whole life is helping animals lower that inflammation. That's powerful about the dogs. I didn't know the wrinkles and all that. So powerful and beautiful. And I know we wanted to keep this really tight, you guys, but I know I have a couple quick people that wanted to share a quick story. Mary Severson, do you mind sharing a quick horse story real quick?
Sure. So I did horse therapy thank you so much, and such wonderful information. And I learn something every time that I hear these speakers too. So this is just, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I appreciate it. So I did horse therapy for 14 years, and I have lost 3 of my therapy horses in the last 2 years. So it's been kind of a tough time because there's just such an emotional connection to a horse that saves lives. So I did emotional disability, suicidals, and domestic abuse victims and stuff. And to watch these horses get older is just really hard. But all of them have seen longer life, healthier life, just a really good end of life. We put one down in April, very unexpectedly. That morning she ate her breakfast and she laid down and she twisted her gut, and there was no bringing her back. And even the veterinarian that came out said, this is not a 27-year-old horse. He thought she was 10 years younger than she looked. And he was really sad about what we had to do that day. And I said, but to God be the glory, because I always said when they were done with their job and they were getting old, please help me with this transition, because those things are hard. And to know that she went out on the top of her game, because literally 2 weeks before we put Sparkles to sleep, who is the matriarch of everything we've done, we still have 2 daughters and a granddaughter in the program here. She went out at the top of her game. She was cantering and running around her pen literally a few weeks before that. And she lived with a sheep in her last days as her companion animal. But I can't even, there's so many stories I could share, and we're going to try to keep this tight. But please use me as a resource. I have so many. I'm a PMF, Gresham therapy person too, and I work on cows and horses and people, and do that kind of therapy as well. So, So
give us,
always
give us one story. I know you have a lot of them, but everybody wants to hear it. Just give us one story.
Okay. So I had a horse, Ruby, and she had Cushing's, and it was my daughter, and she was in our therapy program too, but she was my roping horse. So I took her to a ranch every year, and I roped baby calves off of cows and helped take them and weigh them. And it was kind of like my cowgirl boot camp weekend away. And she was my horse, and there was a year she couldn't go because she was lame, and what the Cushing's was doing to her, and the crusty neck, and the stiffness, and just not moving like she used to. And it was kind of breaking my heart. She was my girl. And it was my daughter who said, Mom, why haven't you put her on the little yellow pill and keep her on it? Mm-hmm. And so I did. And I went back to riding her and enjoying her in her last days and doing all the things. And her crusty neck went away. Even her feet got better, in the rotation in her feet, and the farrier and the vet, and her coat She had a furry, thick coat she didn't shed out by herself. She now shed her coat out, you know, and it was beautiful and shiny. And the veterinarian who knew her whole life, because I've had the same vet like forever, just couldn't believe the changes in this horse. And so when I had to say goodbye to her, you know, and those are very hard things, but again, kind of at the top of her game, feeling good in the end, right? So I just want to share that don't overpromise the product. When we're doing this, don't overpromise the product. Let the product over-deliver for the person, because it will every time. There's a blessing in this and we don't share it enough. So that's what I want to say.
She has so many stories, you guys. She has just so many. So thank you.
Stories, a cow story. I can go on, but we're going to keep this tight. But
yes, I mean, literally cows and lambs and sheep and it's just crazy.
We had World Dairy Expo a half hour from my house. So I worked on a lot of dairy cows last week. So it's just fun. I love it.
Yes. Oh, Mary, you are so amazing. And Miss Cody, you got one story for us, sister? It can be dog. Cody's from Wyoming. Cody has every kind of animal that you can imagine at her house. Give us one story, sister. She has a background in, I want, again, keep it tight, but just maybe say your background really quick. She's got a great medical background too.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I am a board certified family nurse practitioner. I originally started out on my journey going to veterinary school, but I got way too attached to all my patients. So, you know, it's a lot easier to work on people for me. I think it was that said that for most horse people, we usually have at least 2 dogs. I have 4. So yeah, and actually it was dogs that got me started on Protandim and helped me to find Protandim, because I was looking for something for our 11-year-old lab at the time. Her name was Bella, and like Michelle, you described, she was a hunting dog, and she just didn't get around as well anymore. And the sparkle had gone from her eyes, the life had gone from her eyes, and I was doing chiropractic treatment, acupuncture, steroid injections into her hips. She was getting anti-inflammatories. I mean, you name it, we were trying. And I was doing research, trying to find something to decrease inflammation in the joints. And I stumbled across Protandim. And I didn't dive into the research at the time. I just thought, what the heck? It's natural. Why not try it? What's it going to hurt? And within a week, she was moving around better. And at the time, we lived on a really steep hill. She wasn't going down to the water, and she is a bird dog, and that was really unusual for her. Within 2 weeks, she was kind of going up and down the hill. Within 3, she was playing, and she had the light back in her eyes. So we got another good year. She did end up passing away from cancer, a whole other issue. But it was amazing to have that last year with her, and it was amazing to see what Protandim did for her. And I can tell you after that, that's when I dug into the research, and I really looked at it and went, oh, I'm going to be on this for the rest of my life. My family is going to be on this for the rest of their lives. And that includes all of our horses and our dogs and, yes, our goats. I had a cat that was on it that lived to be 38 years old. So it's good stuff.
Wow, 38! How do you know it's possible? Cody, that's incredible. Cody is an incredible soul. I've actually known Cody since junior high and high school. So it's super, super amazing. Just thank you. She could talk forever as well. And again, I apologize. We're going a little bit late, but Miss Danny up in Canada. And then we'll pop off here and get some last words from our guest speakers here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Well, thank you. Oh my gosh, the stories, I've got goosebumps. I'm excited. I'm sitting here nodding my head in total agreement of what everybody is saying. I have horse and dogs, but I only have one dog. I broke the average. But I'm going to tell you about my dog story. I have horse and dog stories. But it was the first dog story, and it was my dog, and it's what totally locked me into these products, into this company, into helping launch in Canada and being a lifer. So I had a dog, Shepherd Lab Cross, who was a rescue. His name was Strider Bear. He was 13 years old, and we had discovered he had some kidney disease. So I had been monitoring that for about a year, changing his diet, frequent blood work, doing what we could to manage it. And actually, he wasn't on any medications. But what happened was he crashed. And I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this, but when your dog crashes, he crashes. Like in a few days, he went from, being like a senior dog to couldn't get up, couldn't do the stairs, walking like he had vertigo. And I had phoned Dr. Silverman because I had just met her. And I was like, I hear there's a product in the States. Can I get it? And she said, don't worry about that. Just give him regular Protandim because that's what we have in Canada. And so I did. I half the pill, and here's pill popping ideas for pets, you guys. Wrap it in the firm cream cheese, not the soft cream cheese, the firm cream cheese. It makes a little ball. It has no flavor. It slides right down and it's gone. Okay, so with anything. So I started him on half a pill a day, and Protandim was so new to us. I wasn't even on it yet. And I remember when my son said to me, he noticed first that there was something with the dog, and I kind of said, what is wrong? He goes, I think he wants to play. And I thought, oh, it's not just me seeing it, because I want to see it so badly, right? And it ended up within days, he started to be able to do the stairs again, and he was being more social. And within about a week, he was out roaming the fields again with the horses. And within 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe it was a 3-week mark, he was running and chasing the horses again. And which was just like, I can't even believe it's the same dog. My farrier came over, and our dentist stopped in, and both of them were like, is that the same dog? And I'm like, yep. And they're like, I want what he's got. And I'm like, we can do that. And that was my belief, that, and that dog went to live on another 2+ years. And unfortunately, he probably would have kept going, but he got injured. And but I was so grateful the whole time. Another thing is shepherds, because he's part shepherd, they often get sun damage in their eyes, which is called pannus. And it's almost like the cells start growing over. Anyway, he had been on steroid drops since he was 4 years old for that. And I had to give the drops according to how it was, right? I could back off for a while and come back. He never again had to take drops for his eyes. My vet was so blown away. 4 months after my dog started on NRF2, we did more blood work. The vet calls me up. He's like, yeah, something's going on with your boy. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he's like, yeah, his levels are almost normal, because senior dogs don't heal themselves from kidney disease, right? And at the same time, my vet was blown away with the eyes. He's like, I got to see these eyes. And yeah, so there, and I still have that blood work, the before and afters. So yay. Thank you for this. Thank you for the whole team that shared. Marisa, Sveta, Patty, me,
Yeah. It's the power and the importance of sharing. Thank you, Danny. Was that not amazing? And Danny has so many more of those stories with horses and so many other things as well. And I got a sweet text, you guys, and thank you, Andrea and Debbie, for your patience and time. I was just talking to Don and Leah Krishnaswamy that are out on the East Coast. And as we were saying earlier, these animals are our babies. And I'm just hugging these two because their baby passed away this past year, but they would love to share a quick video, and we'll close up right after this with Andrea and Debbie. But Don, if you could share that and share your heart really quick, that'd be beautiful.
Sure, just very, very quickly, our English Springer Spaniel, Kamala, like the Vice President, she outlived her expected lifespan, which is 12 to 14 years, by almost 3 years. She passed away at 16 and a half. And she did not look at all like an old dog. Her coat was shiny, On the muzzle, no signs of aging whatsoever. And she was very, very sprightly. And we just, she was on Pet Tandem for over 7 years. And I'll let my story be just in the form of a video of her running with Mia on her 16th birthday. So I'll just quickly share this because a video is worth a million words.
Yes. Thank you, Dawn. Do you have sound too?
This one, 16 years young, sweet 16, and been kissed a lot. I love it. She's activated. Let's go, Bobo. She's activated. She's loved and thriving. So, I'm trailing.
So that's it. It's quick, but I mean, 16-year-old dogs don't move like that. That's so free. And maybe when she came up close in the camera, you might have been able to see she looked young. And also, next time we get a dog, it's Pet Tandem all the way. It's just so impressive what it does. So.
Well, and I know she was so loved, like Mia said in that video. And I have seen dogs that have the grain and the dryness and the different coats, and then they get on Pet Tandem or Pro Tandem, and just literally how it goes back. So thank you, Dawn and Mia. I know that's your baby, and so glad that you have that video for you for life. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, Miss Andrea Davis, any last parting words? We are just so grateful for your time and your energy being here. And I just want to say to you and Debbie too, thank you for just sharing your heart and your voice, and just, being out there in your communities for your animals, because your voice is what is making a difference for these babies of these, these humans and whatnot. They are our souls, right? And I just want to thank you for really being difference makers, and also bringing the credibility and the validation to build that belief, because the world needs these products. So Andrea, any last words that you would love to say or share?
Just don't even hesitate to use it. If your dog is slowing down, if your dog is sick, itching, whatever, don't even hesitate to use it. There are no harmful side effects. It's all positive. My dogs will always be on it. And due to the fact that I have 4, they're on the Pro Tandem Nerf 2. I just split it up for their size, and it's more cost effective for me. But we use that a lot in my breed too, because their inflammation is really bad. But yeah, don't even hesitate. It's the best thing that I've ever found.
Amazing. And as you guys all heard, this is what her mission has been, is to help these dogs and to fight those areas. And her area is, and she's an herbalist and just so many other things. So thank you so much, Andrea. So much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, bless you. Can't wait to see you next week. I hope. Yes.
I'll be there.
All right, Miss Debbie, any last parting words from you, from your heart, to everybody listening and will be listening to replay? Oh, you're muted. Let's see. Unmute. There we go. There we go.
It's not always just about how much longer we can have them, but what kind of quality of life do you have with them? That is massive for me. I said, have 30 good years with my old guy. And then my dachshunds, they were 19 and 21 years old. And they didn't have an easy life with me. We were living in campers, motorhomes, rented houses, hotels. You moved and traveled 8 months out of the year. And they just had to roll with whatever was going on. It could be in the car 15 hours. So it's a hard life for those kind of animals. And to think that I had them for 19 and 21 years is pretty massive. And they had a ball until the last day. You know, they were running. One was blind. She still ran everywhere she went. You know, one had to be on the leash. The 19-year-old, you couldn't let him go for a minute. So it's wonderful when you can see them have that much health.
Yes.
But I did want to spend just a minute. I'll try and make it quick. I think that having this opportunity was unbelievable for me. I had no idea what I would have done. Horse people don't retire. You go all the time. It's just one day they drag you out of the barn by the boots instead of, you know, something else. And so it was big for me to say I actually got to retire from that industry. And if I hadn't I know these products helped me in my health, but it really made a massive difference when it came to the opportunity for me. Because about 2.5 years ago, I had a seizure, had an ambulance ride in. They took a look at me, thought it was a stroke. Nope, now they figured it out. It was an aneurysm that hadn't burst. And I was so incredibly blessed to have awesome doctors, but the fact that I had brain surgery and I left ICU in 2 days, went home by myself, had somebody stay over with me that night. But the doctors couldn't believe, you know, I could see them come in and talk, and then they'd go out in the hall and talk. And both of them are shrugging their shoulders, and they're like, they don't know what's going on. I was walking and talking was a miracle. So I'm forever grateful for that. But even if I had gotten through that without an opportunity, I actually got to take the next 2 years and learn how to do a lot of things over. I had a lot of motor skills I had to work on, like things that I laugh at now, but tying your shoe. You know, when you're 16, you got to learn to tie your shoe again, or how to put the water bottle back screwed on. All of these little silly things. You knew the phone for some reason. You knew you could talk on it, but you didn't know how to use it. You had to have somebody come show you the buttons. So I had a lot of time learning things over. And I couldn't have done my therapy job. It was just too difficult and too dangerous. The fact that I had LifeVantage and I was able to really heal and take 2 years and get well, there's no way I can tell you guys that you need that. I knew I needed a plan B because we get hurt in the horse world, but we get hurt everywhere. Everybody can be in an automobile accident. So I hope you guys are really digging your well. You're really going to these events, listening to the people at the top that have done it. You've got massive leadership right there. Every single day, these people will be there to help you. So I hope that you know what your goals are and that you work towards them, because one day you just can't imagine how important it is to have a plan B.
Oh, Debbie, I've got chills all over. And I see my husband scooting forward, which means he's probably wants to say something. But I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because so many times, you know, these products the world needs. And everybody needs them. They all deserve them. But by doing and sharing these products, there is that opportunity, and that opportunity. I mean, we would be doing it anyway. And life does come and it hits us, and we don't know when it's going to happen. And it's happened to Sean and I several times over the years. And we give thanks to God every single day for these products, this company, that we were able to go be where we need to be during the times that we need to be there, with whom we need to be with, but we wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for this either. And so it really is, our mission is just as big in that direction as well, is how can we help others to live and have choices by going out and making the world a better place with everything that we have going on. Thank you so much for saying that, Debbie. Sean Paul, did you have anything else? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for staying on later and longer than planned tonight. There were just so many gosh darn good stories and so much heart. And definitely just keep sharing this. Thank you for showing up. We are here for all of you always and forever. And let's just go live and love and make a difference, okay? All right. Thank you, everybody that shared, Debbie and Andrea, especially hugging you, and so much gratitude. Thank you. All right. Good night.